Give it a... Oh my... GMO, local, organic, you've heard of it, you understand it, but do you? We're looking at the three objectively so that you can make an informed decision next time you use your Monopoly money at the grocery store. In the first corner, we have GMO. Genetically modified organisms means something was modified at some point. In the case of vegetable or fruit produce, there's a lot of different meanings this could have, but for example, it could be something like changing an enzyme in an apple to make it brown less quickly, or making a fruit or vegetable more resistant to pesticides and herbicides. In the second corner, we have organic. Look for the USDA organic label. They set the standards to make sure that all practices are following those organic guidelines. The major different practice in organic produce is that instead of relying on herbicides and pesticides to grow their products, they're using mechanical and physical means. There's also other factors like what you can use to actually grow the produce, such as you can't use sludge, whereas in GMO products you can use sludge. And finally, we have the world-renowned local produce. Local food can be organic or GMO, depends on where you're getting it from. If you buy it from a grocery store, make sure it's actually local because there's no guidelines on what determines whether or not it's local. You can get reliably local food from a CSA, a farmer's market, an on-farm market. And this is a really good way of giving the farmer your direct dollars. You can find the local markets near you with this USDA tool that I will link below. Pesticide. These are designed to kill pests, but as you can imagine, something designed to kill something might not be so good if you eat it. And we do eat it on our food. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, generally people are likely to be exposed to very small amounts of pesticides. However, there's also been research that links pesticides to poor effects on gut health, brain health, etc. Now, I'm not bashing the EPA, but it is kind of wonky information in this area. For more specific information about pesticides, you can go to the National Pesticide Information Center. I'm going to be using this chart moving forward so that you can kind of compare the three categories and make an informed decision at the end. Green means they're minimally using these different categories we're looking at. Yellow means somewhere in between, and red means it's at the maximum end. And then we're going to use depends when it's kind of in between. So pesticides, because GMOs have no limitations, that's at the red end. Organic is not pesticide free, but very minimal, so we have yellow. And local really depends on what you're buying, so it's not necessarily either. Ask your provider what you're getting, and if you do want to opt for the lesser side of the pesticide residue, make sure that you see an organic seal. Packaging is it referring to both what the actual produce gets from the farm to the market in, but also what it is packaged in so that you can take it to your house. Packaging for organic and GMO is mixed. They certainly use packaging to get from the actual farm it's growing to your store, but whether you buy it in additional packaging depends. So if you want to go for the more environmentally friendly option, you want to bring your own reusable bags instead of going and avoid going to stores like Trader Joe's where there are additional packaging to get at home with. When you buy at a local store, it's usually very minimal. So yeah, you just kind of grab the produce that you want and then you take it home in whatever containers you have. Let's take a look at the difference between nutrients. Not all produce is equal, and I'm talking about the actual vitamins and minerals that are within that vegetable or fruit. GMO food has no guidelines on soil practices, so it's sort of dependent on luck, how much nutrients you get in there, but certainly the lowest luck of the draw. Organic, according to the USDA, organic and GMO food has about the same nutrient value. Using my own personal logic, though, the USDA organic standards include biodiversity standards, meaning the soil in theory should be richer with nutrients. They also prevent the use of synthetic agents. One such synthetic agent would rapidly mature plants faster than its counterpart growing in the wild. So these synthetic agents kind of make the plant look more mature, but it doesn't necessarily taste like it, so that would make the nutrients a little bit less available. This is especially true in tomatoes. If you ever get a tomato and you're like, hey, why does this look super red but it tastes terrible? That's about why. Then we have local produce, which is generally grown in season, and also because it's picked very close to the time when you're getting it and there's not as much transportation involved, you really maximize the nutrient value. A food's carbon emissions refers to any greenhouse gases emitted from the process of actually growing into when you grab it, store it, and dispose of it. Researchers found there's pretty much equal carbon emissions between GMO and organic products that are in the big conventional grocery stores that we go to. So if you want to reduce your carbon footprint, and that is typically what you're buying, then go for something that is not imported. So buying something grown and raised in the US is going to drastically reduce your carbon emissions there. Then local produce, there's no giant food trucks getting the stuff to you, so much less carbon output. Now what about that price tag? GMO has a much lower price tag compared to organic because the pesticides allow farmers to reliably produce a larger quantity of produce. Organic, there's several factors impacting price, including the organic seal. That takes money to maintain, and then also, there is a less ability to guarantee a certain crop yield because of no pesticides, so that cost is passed on to the consumer, and these are usually much more expensive. Local, it depends where you're getting it from, but really honestly the farmers markets are pretty darn cheap. This really depends where you live, but in my experience, farmers markets very cheap. CSA kind of depends, so take a look at your organic market. Now, if you're not ready to dive into maybe a local or organic total produce haul, that's totally understandable. There are small ways to make small changes. One being a vinegar wash solution for your produce. So letting your produce sit in 1 part vinegar and 3 parts water for 15 minutes will actually take off a good amount of that pesticides. The second option, start buying organic as much as possible. A really smart place to start would be the Dirty Dozen list that the EPA has put out in 2020. They found fruits and vegetables with the most pesticides on them. Actually buy those top items in organic. Give it a thinker, and I'll see you at the next video.